cousins, brother. Hey, Dr. Kimberly, it says that we're live, or it's
Oh
in
my
that
gosh.
corner.
And we are. We want to say thank you so much. You are tuned in to Rolling on the Road with Dr. Kimberly and Dave. As always, Dave is on assignment. Oh, but wait a minute. He showed up.
Well, I'm not. I'm in assignment, but I'm on air and not in my office. So, yeah. This is my. It's not really my office, but I'm in my other gig space.
Wait a minute.
It's all. Sorry, folks, for confusing you, but yeah, we're just hanging down in the Kent County administration building. I was juggling my day job with my county commission job. Now I'm back to my day job, hanging out with Dr. Kimberly and rolling on the road.
Oh my gosh. I tell you, sometimes some folks just have to wear so many hats, I'm just saying.
I used to have a really cool hat collection.
I still do. And probably the hat that I am most proud of, and I've had it all these 1900 and years, that when I joined the Navy, I was a senior in high school. So I was excited that in 1900 and then it was an election year. So I was getting ready to turn 18. I was going to have to vote. I was like, yes. And Jesse Jackson was running for president. And so, he is from South Carolina. So that was my first major duty station. My ship was there, the USS Holland, AS-32. And so he came to Charleston, South Carolina as part of his tour, and I got the hat. So it still says, run, Jesse, run.
Cool. I thought you were going to talk about, I really like those, baseball hat that will then have the name of your ship on it.
You know what?
What are those called? Do they have a special name? Just a ship hat?
Ball cap.
Mm-hmm. What? Ball cap?
Just a ball cap.
So the ball cap.
I actually have a couple of them. I have one that says the USS Holland. I've got that one. I've got my USS Emory S. Land one. I have my woman veteran hat. And I have a Desert Storm, because that was my war, was Desert Storm.
As ball caps.
All ball
nice.
Caps.
Hey, speaking of South Carolina, I'm just going to give a quick shout out to Ezra, who, one of my best friend's sons, as we speak in this heat, he's at Great Lakes doing his basic training. And he's going to be part of the new Navy. And after basic, he's on his way to South Carolina. So, Ezra, we hope you and everybody else that's part of your class at Great Lakes, what do they call that? Great Lakes Naval
Station. Well, Naval. Actually, it is definitely, it's a boot camp, but it's also a duty station as well. So it's kind of big enough to do both.
Duty?
Because I'm down in Florida. I mean, I think there was no place like Florida. But who wants to march in 102 degrees outside and then the heat index is like 150? You're just like, oh no.
There you go. And how can the Great Lakes Naval Station just outside of Chicago be a duty station? Are the people in Illinois afraid we're going to attack across the Great Lake of Michigan?
Well, maybe, just maybe. But you have to have somebody stationed there for personnel so that they can write your orders and where you need to go. Somebody has to be the doctor to examine you. They need dentists so they can pull out, they pull out all four of your wisdom teeth, whether they've cut the gums or not. They just,
really?
They're like, okay, on week 6, yeah, you're getting all your wisdom teeth taken out. You're like, what? And you got to march in 102 degrees, but I'm bleeding.
Wow, this sounds like a whole separate episode. What really happens at basic training?
It really is.
Did you have to sign like a non-disclosure, or can you tell these stories? Is the FBI going to break into the room here? Is this
I think I'm
legal?
too, I have been a veteran now longer than the actual time that I've served. That makes me feel very old. Because even if I had served a full 20, I still have been out longer than if I had served 20 years. Seriously. I mean, that makes me feel ancient. But yeah, I mean, there's some things that you can have the conversation about. Other things, it's declassified. Since the ship is decommissioned, then it's considered declassified now, information.
Well, and it's kind of funny. I mean, I don't have a lot of naval uh, stories, not like you. Hey, Ronnie. Yay, Ronnie. But as we speak, where I went to graduate school in Belgium, there's a small reunion here in Grand Rapids.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my classmates was in the Navy before he went in the seminary. And just to kind of, pull Bob's leg every once in a while, we'd say, hey, Bob, were there ever nuclear weapons on your ship? And what would Bob say? What would Bob say?
Bob would say that is classified, declassified information.
And he would say, I can neither confirm nor deny.
And that's what that means, when you say, because when you say I can neither confirm nor deny, then people will say, oh, well, then it's true. So I say that it's classified, declassified information. And then that makes people stop and say, well, what do that mean? Okay, how about you think about that one for a minute, and then I'm going to go and do what I got to go do. You see what I'm saying?
I do. And our favorite is, so Bob would always say that. And back when I was in seminary back in the 80s, that the U.S. Navy was trying to have an agreement with Denmark to dock, ships there, and do what do you guys shore leave and things like that.
Yes.
The Danes said, well, you have to tell us if there's nuclear weapons, because if there's nuclear weapons, we can't let you stop here. And they said, well, we can neither confirm. And on the news, the captain of the ship said, we can neither confirm nor deny. And we just all died laughing because it was exactly the way Bob said it. Exactly. And the ship couldn't stop in Denmark because they couldn't say either way. And Denmark said, all right, then we have to err on the side of caution. Go stop in Germany. Go stop in Germany. Leave us alone.
Well, I still say that I think that our captain had a girlfriend in Florida, because we made a lot of Florida runs. I mean, the Bahamas, we had some great Liberty calls, so
nice.
Yeah, I just look at it like that. But today, I mean, I think that's interesting. I think it's a great segue to go into our topic today, is the intersectionality of disability in the Black and Brown communities. I remember when I met you 1900 and some years ago. I think we met probably, let's see, my youngest is 28 now. And he was still in high school.
Well, we met that night at Invest in Ability, because again, when people, speaking of intersectionality,
that was like in 26, but I met you earlier than 2016. I met you with your brother about 11 years ago.
Oh, see, I always forget that because oh my goodness, because I always, track it back to that Invest in Ability, not when Rudy was hanging out at Steepletown, right?
This is true. And, I guess you don't remember because I wasn't in a wheelchair then.
Exactly.
Those are pre-wheelchair days. I mean, that was actually, a few years before I was in a wheelchair. So I guess I just wasn't notable because I wasn't rolling around on the toes and stuff, Just a plain old person having to walk like everybody else. Dang.
Oh, and
I think, but it probably wasn't until 2016, and I don't think that was the verbiage that was used then. It was checking all the boxes. And actually, I think
Oh, Dr. Kimberly,
maybe
am
the
I
year before that, maybe even you are.
am I
Oh, you were frozen.
am okay? Because you're kind of like breaking up on my end. Am I still frozen?
Nope,
All right.
you're good.
Sorry about that. I'm good. I have 3 bars, but anyways, who knows what that means?
Our conversation started with the This Is project, identifying what is disability, how do you define yourself in your community? And we were having a community conversation about This Is. And back then it was how many boxes can you check off? Not that the boxes were coming together. Are you trying to hold your phone together?
No, I'm holding my phone, but it is together. I need duct tape because it seems to be crinkling. Is it crinkling on your end?
Now it's better,
Okay.
but it seems like you're moving something around. We can hear the extra movement.
All right. Well, I'll leave it at that right now. And maybe it was this power cord, and we'll see what happens. But when we talk about that, and it's kind of funny because the intersectionality of needs and opportunities that and before that This Is conversation, and the main reason you got invited to that This Is conversation is I'm going to keep going back to that fantastic presentation at Invest in Ability. I mean, it was that the year before, for a number of years, we'd have 3 different people talk. Like, I worked with workforce development, I worked with the OT team doing home assessments, I worked with independent living, I might have worked with nursing facility transition. So we try to get 3 stories to kind of tell the a little bit more about the many things we do. And then our event's usually in October, folks, and so sometime in the summer somebody said, well, let's not do 3 stories, because I mean, sometimes less is more. We don't, these are people in the ballroom that are already supporters. We don't need to like over convince them. They're like, maybe we could tell 1 story. And then Joanne, who was our lead occupational therapist, said, well, I just was doing a home assessment for a person that worked with Trina, and I think she also worked with other folks in the office. So, and she's a veteran, and I'm like, all right, whatever, sounds good, So in roles at that time, it was just Kimberly Kennedy, correct? No doctor yet. So in roles, Kimberly Kennedy. And she just, again, you being you, and you just told it the way it is. And you're just like, hey, folks, and we've heard the story on Rolling on the Road, a few times, but because it's a powerful story where, when you met Trina, and the rest is history, so to speak. And so, I remember, again, after the event, I'm like, we're going to keep working together. And you're like, I guess we'll see. Who's that scary guy talking to me? And then, I'm like, okay, who do we invite to this is in conversation? Some of our usual suspects. And then it's like, all right, we got to get Tommy Allen. He wants to be part of this. And then it's like, oh yeah, Kimberly Kennedy, the woman who spoke at Invest in Ability. People are like, oh yeah. And again, it just keeps moving forward together as we look at, how these things come together. And that, it's all focused on inclusion and connection in our community. And how are we, unfortunately, keeping the barriers in place? The barriers focused on physical stuff like your wheelchair. I mean, better than most that the very real barriers that are built every day, brand new buildings you can barely get around in, all that stuff. But then what kind of barriers, even, as a woman, as a person of color, absolutely right, Tash. It's about inclusion. And what kind of even barriers as a veteran have you encountered? So again, as our, I hate to say friend because we haven't met her yet, but Kat Holmes in the book Mismatch, she gave you that awesome title of you are an exclusion expert. Because of that experience of being excluded, you're the one who gets to tell us, hey folks, here's where the barriers are, and then we all together get to work on solutions. So anyways,
I think that for those who may have just heard the term tossed around a little bit, but intersectionality shows us the social identities and work on multiple levels. Usually it's referring to a negative or from a disadvantaged point, and not always from, okay, what are the advantages or what are the unique opportunities that I have? And I think that's the piece that I try to show everybody every day, is that there are some advantages, there are some positives, no matter how, exclusionary life seems to be. But when it all comes together, disability is probably at the top of the list that intersects with your gender, your sex, your race, ethnicity, class, sexuality, religion, weight, your physical appearance. I mean, disability does not care about any of it. And so it can touch more areas, more people, more communities. And one of the things that I have really been appreciating about disability advocates is the new program with the Black and Brown Luncheon, inviting those communities in. As I continue to do advocacy, not just on a micro, but on the macro level, sitting on, a council appointed by the governor, you get to see the state of Michigan from an aerial view. And you're like, wow. You see the many disadvantages, but you see how disability just intersects with everything and everyone. And how do we get everybody to the table to say, guess what? You don't have to be disadvantaged. It doesn't have to not be an opportunity, or, this doesn't have to feel like you're being oppressed. We want to show you the other side of how you can live this wonderful self-directed life when you realize that there are places that are available for you to just tap into. And I think that's probably what I love. I call it the Empowerment Center, but to be able to come into a one-stop shop and say, hey, I love Be Nice. There's nine agencies that is in that 127,000 square foot at Special Olympics Michigan, located, we love shameless plugs, located at 160 68th Street Southwest, and that is Grand Rapids, Michigan, 49448. So I think that's one of the things that I have really appreciated about the whole SOMI. It's like, wow, no matter what you're experiencing, you can get on the bus, it'll drop you right off across the street. You can, maybe get off at the light. Get off at the light. That way you can cross safely and then just come up, not even a half a block, and you're right there at the building. Many people say you are giving a greater divide because of where it's located. But honestly, there wasn't any other place in the city that would be large enough to be able to host, such a monumental. Hi, Heidi. You have we can't hear you.
Heidi. Oh no, she found us. Welcome, Heidi.
Yes, welcome. And I have to say that anyone who has been successful, they had to reach outside of a box. They had to reach outside of a construct. They had to, take the initiative to say, I want something different. I want something better. And I'm going to have to go across the street to get it. You know, it's not sitting in my yard and it's not in the backyard. So maybe I might have to get up off the porch, you know, and come down a couple of stairs, maybe come down a ramp, however you need to get out. And maybe I need to go across the street because that's where it is, across the street. And so I think that we can't sit back and say to society or come and say, Dave, you're not fair. Dave, you're not right. You know, you guys, it's like, so what did you do in order to help? Because if you never tell me, you don't call me, you don't let me know that you have a problem, then I don't know that I need to come and help you.
Well, and that piece though of, you know, I'll just say like the two-way part of this street, that are we inviting folks to come and tell us their stories? You know, the way we invited you those many years ago at a few years ago at Invest in Ability, you know, that to tell your story and how you're moving, that you were choosing to say, okay, this is where I'm going to self-direct my life in this direction and tell that story. And now continuing to invite people in to tell us that story, because we know the statistics. The statistics are that more people of color got worse impacts for COVID, got, you know, the digital divide, who doesn't have broadband internet, you know.
Okay, so I just want to say that I think that the city's broadband is horrible because you keep breaking up. Now you're muted.
Oh, but say that again about the broadband.
And I said, I think the city needs to work on their broadband because, you know.
Yes, because I'm still crunchy. But that idea of, we know the statistics. Now what we're looking to do is to weave them together with the stories and to weave together additional folks who want to knock down these barriers with us and to help identify additional barriers that we need to be knocking down. Because most of the barriers are human made. You know, where
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so. We have to make the decision. I want something different, and I think that's all I did. Was I angry at first? Oh, absolutely. You know, I mean, Trina and I had a moment. You know, a couple of minutes. Okay, all right. So we had a moment, and I have to tell my truth. You know, the honesty, be transparent, that I was angry. I didn't like the fact that I'm disabled now. I'm in a different community. I didn't realize that my world was not accessible to me. You know, when we talk about intersectionality, it's like, oh, okay, I intersected the world on number one, I'm Black, I'm female, I'm a veteran. And when I came here, things weren't accessible to me. You know, it was a different type of unaccessibility, if you will. And when I became physically disabled, then I had to stop and say, wait a minute, this doesn't feel any differently than when you came home as a Black female veteran and nobody knew what to do with you. You know, I mean, this is no different. But what did you do? You got up and you said, hey, you start knocking on some doors. You started talking to folks. Hey, well, what is there for me to do? Where can I go? I need housing now. I just got back from the military. I need some housing. What do I do with my DD-214? You know, how do I get a job? They say that I can get points. So I had to get up and get out there and knock on a couple of doors to figure out, how do I get myself back into civilian society? And then it was the same thing, like, oh, disability is no different. It's just one more thing that I'm adding to. So is that popcorn that's making noise in the background?
Is that still my?
Yes.
My phone is crunchy even when it's muted.
So I don't know what's happened, but he says, "Is that popcorn noise?"
Not making popcorn. It's just my old phone, which I think I might have dropped for the last time. It keeps coming back.
I think that just because terminology has changed, it doesn't change the experience, And at the end of the day, I have to accept responsibility for my life, whether I'm black, brown, orange, pink, or purple. I have to take responsibility for my life, and I have to get out there and I have to say what is available to me, because right now I don't like the way that my life looks. And I know there's got to be something better. And I can't blame the fact that I'm black. I can't blame the fact that I'm female. I can't blame the fact that I'm a veteran. I can't blame the fact that I am, disabled. I have to put all of that together, because if I do math says two negatives make a positive. So how many things that I'm taking saying that, okay, this is negative, this is negative, this is negative, this is negative. In a minute, when we start doing math, there's got to be some positives there. And how can I take all of that and say, okay, this is how it's all coming together. So that Heidi, look at this.
I'm not making popcorn, folks. It's an old phone. I'm so sorry. One day you will experience an iPhone, maybe more than 8. But today, what comes to mind, Dr. Dr. Kimberly, what I'm trying to read, what Heidi's saying there. It's like when you change your attitude, but you also change your latitude. I think that's a bad country western song, because one thing about Grand Rapids is, at least in the old days, might still like, how much nightlife do we have for young black professionals? Because the law firms in town were always trying to recruit more young black attorneys and other professionals, Steelcase, Myers. They're looking for, all right, we want diversity, let's recruit folks. But they would come to Grand Rapids, and then it's like, this just isn't my place. And then, you might know people that have left Grand Rapids and gone to Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh, I know people that have done that. I was really shocked the other day. Well, I think it was just yesterday. I'm thinking, oh, wow, this young lady just opened up a business. So, you know how I feel about small businesses. And I was like, wow, let me see where I can go to support her. And then I looked and I see that she's up and moved to Texas. And I was like, oh my gosh. And the first thought that came to my mind, what didn't we have here? That she would, because I have driven to Texas, and I promise you, I will never ever do that again. You got to take a week off just to drive, anyway, worst drive, 20 something, I think it was 22 hours. And that was driving straight. I didn't stop and get a hotel or anything. And I had a couple of kids in tow, and I drove from Michigan to there. And the first thing I thought was, this is a young woman, a mother of 2. What didn't we have here for her? Why did she feel she had to travel, more than a day's time in a car, 10 layovers on an airplane, but to pack up everything and be able to move to Texas to start a business? We're missing something here, people. Who did she not intersect with? Because this, there's 1,683 words that start with the prefix dis. And so did she feel disgruntled, disqualified, disassociated? Like, what dis did you feel? Were you disabled in finding a space? So your disabledness is not just, oh, okay, Am I in a wheelchair or am I walking around? Do I have hearing aids in, like my cute little pink hearing aids? Is it a hearing aid thing? Can I not? Is somebody not hearing me? What was the piece? And here's three people that could be contributing, because her daughters have to grow up, and that makes them, contributors. So that's, a couple of generations there that should be here thriving. Where didn't we intersect well with her? Then she would just pack up and leave.
Yeah. And there's so many folks for a lot of different reasons that have left our community. And so, we got to keep asking those questions. Thank you, Taz, for putting that out there. And awareness of the issues should be that first opportunity. So, too much of the Michigan nice around here. We can't call it out. We just got to be nice about it.
Oh, well, I think so. So then I have to say, where should we have intersected? In her diss. What was her diss? That there was not that intersection for her to feel comfortable to be able to stay here and open up her business and thrive. And I think that we touched on it a little bit last week, because we I guess they'll be on here in the next week or two. But Disability Advocates of Kent County's answer to that is like, hey, you know what? We're going to start inviting the Black and Brown community to come to the table. Let's hear where your disses are so that we can kind of address them, as a community. I felt, oh my goodness, like a mother proud of her little baby. When I heard, and we called and we talked to Dave, and Disability Advocates came alongside our business and partnered with us, and we did well. That speaks volumes. But somewhere it's not, we like to say Jesus on the main line, call him up and tell him what it is that you need, so somewhere on the Jesus main line, it is not translating everywhere. I believe that there are more than 100 translations of the Bible, based off of language and whatnot. But we got to find a way to start translating what's happening at Disability Advocates out to the community. Oh, thanks, Ronnie.
Thank you, Ronnie, for that endorsement, because it is, as you said, Dr. Kimberly, translating as well as listening with that translating ear. That, how do we, we toss around the phrase, culturally competent, that we're not just, we're just not saying, oh, we're here to help. Oh, Dr. Kimberly disappeared. Am I the only one on the air now? So that we are truly listening to the community. We're trying to look like the community, with Derek Collins leading that effort. We hope to have Derek and then Michael Williams, who helped facilitate last Friday. We're hoping to have both those guys on the show in the next week or two, depending on how their schedules work out, to get a little deeper into how best to do this work. And kind of as Taz put out there, a lot of it is asking questions. Asking questions, there we go, and listening, truly listening to the answer. And then knowing that, what does it really mean for us to be of support, as opposed to, are we just of the problem? That are we, how to say it, most people use the word, I think, in an empowering way, but a lot of people use the word inspire in a negative way. Like, oh, Dr. Kimberly, you inspire me. So which
Just put
means
that pat on the head like this. Like, oh my God, you know what? My puppy just peed on the pad and not on the floor. Oh my God, you're so inspiring. He peed on the pad.
exactly.
No, that's
And inspiration is a quick emotional buzz, and it's like, woo, it's like having a good cup of coffee. I have a little caffeine buzz. I got a really good inspiration buzz. Thank you, Dr. Kimberly. I feel good today because I got an inspiration buzz. And that's why I like the word instigate. Where instigate is where, Dr. Kimberly, you are so good at instigating action. It's like, hey, I'm not here to inspire, I'm here to instigate. Will you instigate some action with me? And so that, again, instigation is not a quick buzz. Instigation is the long haul, and back to Black and Brown community partner lunches, we're trying to instigate some action of disability advocates. How are we investing our resources? Instigation in the wider community, people talking about public transportation, affordable, accessible housing, healthcare, mental health care. Let's instigate some action together, because today's word, intersectionality. People with disabilities, no matter race, creed, color, income level or not, that curb cut doesn't work. If you need a curb ramp, that curb cut doesn't work. Don't matter all of those other things, So we need curb ramps for all of us, or curb cuts as some of us call them, So anyways, the fun we are having, getting to know each other better, breaking some bread, that's how we roll forward and instigate change. Because inspiring change, again, it is so easily, is that inspiration buzz.
well, it's at this point it's placating, and we're beyond that.
It can be.
And it's time for a call to action. And I have to say, hey, look, even I'm learning even more. You have to make that personal decision at the end of the day. You're gonna have to make a decision, and sometimes um, you have to be brave in your choice. And so I like to inspire people to be brave, and while we're interrogating, while we're investigating, I need to inspire you to be brave, to take that stand. People are saying, hey, look, we don't like the people who we have on the ballot. I don't like this side. All right. But you have this side over here, which is more in tune to what your thoughts are, what you're doing. I need to inspire you to be brave enough to make a choice to do something different. And that's what I had to do. I was inspired when I came to disability advocates to make a different decision. That I was inspired to make a choice. I was inspired to be brave and say, if you step out here and choose to live life, just know that we got you. If you make this choice, you're not going to be out there by yourself. You're not going to look like crazy, because that's kind of how I felt. I was like, you want me to do what? You expect me to engage in a society that's not accessible to me, not receiving of me. And you're like, yeah, we're inspiring you to make this decision. And guess what? We have you. We got your back once you get out there.
Right. And that's again, the positive, more full use of that word inspiration, that the inspiration leads to action. The inspiration is not just that quick emotional buzz. And
right.
that's the inspiration we hope. And of course, another one of our favorite words, you go from inspire, which is to breathe in, to conspire, to breathe together, because we conspire to do this change together. And so that's when we're really having fun. that we're working together side by side, and again, asking the tough questions, listening to good answers, putting good plans together, knocking down those barriers. That's what we need to be about.
I think that it's done. I've said it time and time again that we're the model. We're not asking you to do something that's, well, maybe it hasn't been done or you haven't seen it, but we are definitely modeling what it can look like, because you have, and we're going to say it, and we say it a lot on here, you're privileged in so many ways. And you said, you know what, Doc, all I'm going to do is give you my privilege card, and I'm giving you carte blanche. I'm not putting a limit on it. Here's my card. Use it how you need to, use it responsibly. And I was like, what? I can use these? And you were like, yes, you can. And you said, use it responsibly. You want me to be responsible with this? Oh, absolutely. And voila, you handed me the card. I've used it, and it has served all of us and the community well.
And I mean, and truly, everything that we have invested with you, that what's Heidi saying there?
Of getting off.
That. Yep, keep working to make the change. Besides just crying about it, but again, everything we've invested in you, Dr. Kimberly, we have reaped 10, 100-fold in a return with you as partner, working alongside us in the community. Because I could go on, but unfortunately, I'm looking at the clock here, Dr. Kimberly, and they might be throwing me out of this building soon. But I like those questions, and I'm going to go back to our Facebook feed so I can read them. Because people can watch us on Facebook, can't they?
They can, and on YouTube, and on Twitch, and on Twitter, and
all these good platforms. Because again, folks, thank you so much for the comments today, and it keeps making us richer by working together and knowing that, like I said, the curb cut, the curb, a very tangible piece of evidence. Lack of quality health care, it's a little harder to see, but people feel it every day. And again, people with disabilities, unfortunately, receive less health care. People of color receive less access to health care. And then that's a negative intersectionality, where when we talk about the disparity in health outcomes, if you are a person of color with a disability, you unfortunately are in that statistical category of worse health outcomes. So
again,
amen. I'm just gonna keep saying, see that comment come in.
Thank you, Heidi. I appreciate all that you say, and I do know that Heidi is not. She doesn't mince her words, and if she gives you a compliment, it comes from a real place. So that really means a lot, because she will tell you like it is, whether you want to hear it or not. There was a couple of comments that she made that I did not put up here. So yeah, because we try to keep it as PG as possible. But I thank you for all of your input on today. And you have been rolling on the road with Dr. Kimberly and Dave. We have been talking about and around and other things about intersectionality. We apologize for the audio, because the city of Grand Rapids, they really need to upgrade their system.
I promise.
And but I think that it was still a really great conversation. And we want to say thank you to Heidi, Ronnie, and Taz for all of your comments. It made for a really great show. And we appreciate you and others who are watching, because we are now in 10 countries. Yes. Woo-hoo-hoo. And so we thank you for those who will watch us on the replay. Please reach out. We enjoy all of your comments, all of your concerns, and all of your suggestions, especially you, Heidi. Yeah, we appreciate it. But you guys keep plugging away, keep asking the questions. We'll keep trying to answer them. We'll keep coming together and keep working on this, because really is each one reach one, and holding each other accountable and responsible for our actions and what we can do to make things better. But I can say from personal experience, you have to want it on the inside and say, hey, look, I'm gonna take a chance. I'm gonna reach out, and no, we won't let you fall. We're gonna be like Scotch Tape. Maybe a little transparent, but guess what? We're here. We're gonna catch you. We're gonna hold you, and you won't be in this alone. So thank you so much for tuning in to Rolling on the Road with Dr. Kimberly and Dave.
See you all, folks.